can do anything that we wanna do. Long as you got me, and I know I got you. We a team. No in between.
Miss Kathy, I want to tell everybody how we met. This is like the craziest.
Best story ever.
Best story ever. I'm at Kripalu, and this is a yoga retreat up in Massachusetts, and the pipes end up bursting in the middle of the night. 2:00 in the morning, I end up at a hotel in Lenox, Massachusetts. 3 hours later, I'm wandering the lobby. I'm absolutely out of my mind tired. But at this point, I just want caffeine. I want to go back to New York, but I need some freaking oat milk. Let's pick it up there.
So I noticed you right away. And we just got chatting and you were like, they don't have any oat milk, almond milk. And I said, oh, I have two different types. I have cashew milk and oat milk.
And we bonded over that.
We did. We were destined to be friends.
But you know what? Here's the thing that both you and I do, because we're both connectors. We instantly felt connected, but then we did something about it. You know, we kind of asked each other out. Like we connected, we exchanged numbers, and then we followed up on it. So we actually also bonded over health issues because you were attending a conference on boosting your immune system.
Exactly.
You've had a lot of health issues. So just go back, because did your journey to kind of, you know, you look incredible.
I'm healthy now. I'm very healthy.
Right. But tell me, like, because you lost both of your parents very early on.
You're exactly right. So just turning 17, my father drops dead of a heart attack. Within a year, my mother's diagnosed with Alzheimer's disease. We're talking early 80s before anybody knew.
She was not in her early 80s. She was...
It was during the 1980s, excuse me.
Exactly.
During the 1980s, early 1980s.
And how old was she?
She was 50. She was very young. Her symptoms, actually, when we go back, me and my sister, we recognize those symptoms started years before.
Right. Change of personality?
Yes.
But you see, the change of personality isn't consistent with what many people think that Alzheimer's is.
Absolutely.
Right? Somebody's being cranky, they're being inappropriate,
they can no longer read, they just skim a magazine, you know.
The attention span is
right. I remember the day I recognized something was more than depression. So she was heartbroken after my father died. But I remember her standing in front of the Mr. Coffee machine and not knowing how to use it. And I called one of my older brothers who was a physician, and I said, something's wrong
How
here.
many kids are in your family?
I'm one of 6. He agreed with me, and we went on that journey to get her diagnosed, which was a journey back in the early 1980s.
It's still a journey.
And when she passed, she had a brain autopsy, and she did, in fact, have Alzheimer's. And my grandmother, I lost her during that time, so I lost the most important
How long did it take her to die?
I remember calling her from college my first semester. I was away, and she didn't know who I was. She had no idea who I was. Right. And for me, she died then. So although she lingered just a couple more years after that, she could no longer be my mother from a very early age. And it was devastating.
I used to talk to my mother every single morning, right? Every single morning. And
what a gift. How great is that?
Yeah, it was, until I realized that every story I told her, she didn't remember. You know, like the next time I would tell her, she'd say like, so tell me what, and I'm like, we just talked about this yesterday. And it didn't ever get to the point where she didn't know who I was. But I remember with every single phone call, she was dying and I was saying goodbye. Well, I don't know what's better or worse. It's all bad. But whether you have the slow goodbye, because it is such a slow goodbye.
It is.
Or if somebody just drops dead, like your dad from a heart attack.
Very different, right? Dad just dropped dead, was fine, just dropped dead.
Right. Is one easier than the other?
I felt, and still do, grieve my father's death. It was so traumatic. My life changed. Well, it changed immediately because of my mother's illness. But I was close to him and I loved him, and I still cry over him. It was easier for my grief process over. I'd go see her in the nursing home, and, you know.
Right.
It was easier because I was letting go over a couple of years.
Right. Right.
And I was able to say to her the things I wanted to say. I could tell her I loved her. So, but both those things have been really hard. But I think my father's death was, I was at a vulnerable age, and my whole world changed so much after his death.
Right.
Particularly on an economic level.
Right.
Which is really tough.
Right.
And I remember the 3, I think, essences of me and what the gifts I got out of it is, one, through the luck of God, I am someone who's really optimistic and looks at the glass half full. I knew someday I'd meet somebody. Someday I have my own family. Someday it'll be better. Because we really went down to a poverty level, too. Money was a huge issue.
Did your brothers and sisters kind of pick up?
You know, it was devastating because my family fell apart. You know, I came from the Bronx. We came from very working class background.
Right.
So everybody was in survival mode. So unfortunately, it destroyed the family. Today, what those gifts are, right, is I cherish my marriage, being married 37 years. I cherish my daughter being happy and healthy. I cherish the fact that I'm healthy. I cherish that I have the means to have a very different life that I had before when I was growing up. So those were kind of the gifts that I got out of that.
Right.
But it was miserable. Like people look back on the college years and the high school years and the best years of their life. And I look back and it was a devastating pit. Really, really tough.
Have you ever spoken to a medium?
I went to Anna Ramonde. She's a very famous medium. Extraordinary. Like my brother just passed about a year ago. And the first thing she said, and we had been estranged. And the first thing she said is, we're doing pleasantries. Hi, how are you? And she said, I have to stop you. She said, Jimmy is here on a horse in a police uniform. He was a mounted cop in New York City Police Department. I mean, he said things to me through her.
Right. As though he's right there.
As though he was right next to me. Same with my father and my mother. I brought my husband to a medium and his parents spoke to him and someone was like, I don't know if I believe in it. And he was just a changed person.
Right.
I'm very spiritual. I have a deep faith in God and stuff. But my husband was telling me, I said, do you feel like you've gotten more spiritual and closer to God? And he said, you know what really changed? He said, I think I always was, but wasn't conscious. He goes, it was the medium that really changed that.
I see this medium and he says, he's just saying things. It was like my mother was talking to me. I don't have to explain it. I'm telling you, she was right there.
Absolutely.
And then he says at the end, she's going to stay in touch with you with repeated numbers. And I was like, I don't know what that is. And so in relaying the conversation to my daughter, Jackie, later on, I said, and I don't know, she said Baba, who is what she calls her, is going to stay connected with repeated numbers. And she says, those are angel numbers, Mom. And I was like, what? She goes like 111, 222. They're angel numbers. They mean certain things. I was like, I have no idea. I was like, okay, whatever. Next day, I go to a workout class down in Tribeca. Saturday morning, now no one is up at 8 o'clock in the morning in Tribeca.
Right.
Everybody's getting in from the night before. I come out of the door and I bump into a guy and he smiles at me with this smile. I said, go ahead, I'm so sorry. He goes in front of me and I look, he is wearing a t-shirt on the back. It says angel numbers, 111, 222, 333. And I scream and I go, oh my God. And then I burst into tears and I said, oh my God. And I grab his back and he turns to me and I say, oh my gosh, is it okay if I take a picture? I said, my mother's trying to talk to me. He said, that's so wrong. No, but he said, of course. Oh. And because if he was wearing the angel numbers.
Specifically for you to say.
Right?
He was put right in your path.
And right in my path.
The other thing that changed me tremendously was working really hard because I was always hiding the fact I was dyslexic. That dyslexia was Ann, my biggest boogeyman. So I worked like a dog in college, finished college with a 4.0, didn't have a life, but became a workaholic and I was never good enough.
Especially then, you must have just felt like, why does my brain hurt? Why am I not smart? Or why,
And I grew up in a family that was really academically very, very smart.
Right.
So I struggled like a dog.
Right. But worked your ass off.
Worked my ass off, but it always never felt good enough. I could never just do this. I had to do this, and always compensating. And I didn't even tell my husband until I was married a year and a half. And then, he looked at the checkbook.
In terms of being dyslexic.
Yeah.
But did you even know what to say? Did you say
no,
I'm dyslexic?
That's a great point. I didn't have the language.
Right.
Until I went to therapy years later, I didn't even have the language.
Right.
When I look at my life, what I am very proud of, I had tremendous successes in my career, school.
You've got a very, very big job in a pharmaceutical company.
I worked for MERCK.
But, you don't just work for MERCK. You've been with MERCK for how many years?
Over 35 years.
Right.
And I have a great job with them. And what I do with them is I oversee the employer sector for the Northeast, and I help big employers educate their employees on HPV, on various lung cancer, all kinds of different cancers, breast cancer we have a tool for. So It's very rewarding. I work with senior HR leaders, working with them to help them do either campaigns, increase their education. That's very fulfilling.
Right.
Really trying to understand what their needs are and how
Right.
I can help them with that.
Yeah.
And I try to do that, and you do that. I try to do that with all my relationships.
Yeah. Tell me about being a working mom, because if you've been working for 30 plus years, you were
Yes.
raising children.
Which is never easy, right? I was really, really fortunate. My husband was terrific. He was a retired New York City fireman, but he had a lot of flexibility with his schedule.
Right.
That was enormous. I'd come in the driveway and I'd pull up and he'd be sitting in the back, he's 6'1", sitting having a tea party with her. Like, he really played and engaged her, took her to the library and everything. So I feel really blessed because I had a partner who really was a partner.
Right. When he would go to work, would you be scared to death?
No.
Really?
I really...
Because that's a
Yeah.
dangerous job.
It is. And, he was one of those great firemen on 9/11.
Was he in the building?
Tim arrived, so his firehouse was up near Yankee Stadium. So they sent that crew down a little later, but they were all exposed.
Of course they
to
were.
all of those
Well-
toxins and everything. And he was there for like 5 continuous days right after.
What did you see as a change in him after that? That must have been
Was
horrible.
very
like
hard.
even talking about it, like
We just did the
horrible.
Towers Tunnels a couple weeks ago. That was in Manhattan. That was very emotional if you've never done it. They have all the firemen there with all the pictures when you come out. And he lost many, many people. I think it made him even more family-oriented and grateful. He went to funeral after funeral after funeral. And I'll never forget this. So epidemiologically, they're following the first responders out. And I remember, I think it was a physician from Mount Sinai said, I'm not worried about, this is 2001, I'm not worried about now. He goes, I'm really worried about 20 years from now. And he was right.
having that background for him and having obviously a heart attack and dementia in your family. How does that play in terms of your house?
Thus far, I'm keeping him really healthy, but it's a full-time job plus,
Right, right. And do you find it a full-time job for you, or is it now just kind of ingrained?
It's very natural for me.
Right, right.
And the thing was, it was always natural for me, which was really incredible when I got so sick being exposed to black mold and I got
Yeah, so let's touch on that for a second, because I call her Elizabeth only because it is Elizabeth, but it's Liz Boham. Is it
Boham.
Boham?
Liz Boham.
Who is the functional medicine
Functional
doctor.
medicine.
And so for those that don't know what a functional medicine doctor is, it is someone that is basically connecting the dots. They
Getting
know
to root cause.
Right.
Not just treating symptoms. They look at all aspects. I mean, when you fill out the paperwork, it's like, did your mother breastfeed you?
So you got sick with black mold, but the interesting thing was it was in your house.
I have a history of being very allergic to mold. A long
Right,
history.
but you got really sick.
Really sick. And it was the perfect storm. I was going through menopause. I had a huge hormonal imbalance. I had SIBO. As she said, I was a puzzle.
What were the symptoms?
I was exhausted. I had lost a lot of weight. My hair was falling out. My skin was super
Brain fog.
dry.
I mean, you were all out of your mind.
Brain fog. I mean, it was a whole host of things. And she really treated me very comprehensively.
Including doing a detox where I saw the pictures. Yeah,
That
you put your feet.
ionizing machine.
Yeah, your feet were in water. It looked like a pedicure thing.
It was black.
It was black. There was stuff coming out of your feet. Not at first, but then not after
Yeah,
you
they
had
went
done
on.
it for how many weeks?
Months.
Months. And then
Months.
eventually there wasn't anything.
Correct. I'm so blessed today to be 100% healthy. But I always think of people that can't.
What is it that you want to kind of shed a little bit? And what is it that you want to bring in?
Oh, that's a great question. I know what I want to shed. Stop saying I should be doing this, I should be doing that, and really being kinder to myself, like leaning in. It's okay if I don't get the to-do list done, and being more in the moment, being more present. This is probably one of the rare times in life I'm not thinking, I got to get back on this email, and my head is always somewhere else.
Right.
That's a terrible way to live. And I'm leaving that. That's
Right.
one thing I'm leaving. So I'm looking forward to the next chapter, being really healthy, being there for my daughter, being there for my grandchildren someday. That's really what I want. And having friends like you.
Yes, Queen, yes.
I mean, that's really what I look forward to.
Right,
Being able to relax more.
right. Like that Wise and Wonderful Women's Weekend. Oh, God.
But what a great way to start the year.
No, I know, but I just want to do every weekend like that.
And I have to be honest with you, starting the year, and I say this so authentically,
Right,
me and Ginny
right.
were talking about, What a way to start the year.
It was
and this
so
year
much
has
fun.
been an extraordinary year for me. And I'm telling you, a lot has to do with what happened in January.
Right.
I ask anybody, if you can come to this, it's like the best.
It was so much
the
fun. It was
best.
so much fun anyway. BJ's, but that was wonderful. But speaking of wonderful, thank you so much for driving in to be here, for your friendship, for sharing your oat milk with me, the start of a beautiful friendship. I did feel a little bit like there's times in my life where I've had a life shift, and it's almost like everything was quiet around me, and that's how I felt when I met you in that Marriott lobby.
I love you, Ann. Thank you.
Come and bring it all together.